This is the Dzogchen Someday Lama Jigme Gyatso of the Buddha Joy Meditation School. Welcome to Meditate Like a Jedi. Tonight we'll explore Stop Guessing About Meditation Teachers. Know these signs. And then we'll enjoy a nice group meditation. So let's see here. I'm going to tap this button and highlight this first line. So let's talk a minute about patriarchy. You got matriarchy and you got patriarchy. Patriarchy is all about being rigid, fearful, superstitious, controlling, elitist, cryptic, competitive, and cruel. And patriarchy plays on superstition and bullying. Superstition by saying things like, hey man, if you follow the instructions from the wrong teacher, you will go to hell. Really? Hell? Whenever someone's trying to frighten you about hell, they've completely lost track of the Eightfold Path, which doesn't mention anything about reward, doesn't mention anything about punishment, but it does talk about love and it does talk about peace. Fear and love are antithetical. If someone's preaching hell, they're not on the path of peace. They're on the path of fear, aren't they? Patriarchal is also terribly into bullying. And it works like this. We're patriarchy. And now someone's not a qualified teacher unless we say they're qualified. No one's a Buddha unless we say they're a Buddha. Okay, that's all about power and control. That's not about the Buddha's path. I can't tell you how many earnest, anxious Buddhist students I've met who felt the need to interview their prospective teachers, hoping that their views would align perfectly with their previous teachers. Doing that assures that they will never learn anything new. Now, some people like that. They're very controlling. They want things neat and tidy and just so. But some people want an iconoclastic teacher. Lao Tzu, who gave us the Tao Te Ching, was an iconoclastic teacher. Gautama, who gave us the Eightfold Path, was an iconoclastic teacher. Jesus was an iconoclastic teacher. Now, all these three iconoclastic teachers, well, I don't know what the first one, but I know both Gautama the Buddha and Jesus the Christ were murdered by the state. That's the fate of many iconoclastic teachers, because those who are controlling are all about power, and those who are laid back are all about love, and neither the twain shall meet. So if you want a minion of orthodoxy to teach you exactly how to be just as rigid and fearful and superstitious and controlling and elitist and cryptic and competitive and cruel as them, then by all means, stick to orthodoxy. But if you would rather be flexible, loving, rational, laid back, egalitarian, lucid, cooperative, and kind, then find an iconoclastic teacher. So let's stick with pragmatism, shall we? Let's just do this. I ran out of room here, so I doubled up. Okay. Pragmatism is the key. How do you know if a teacher's worthy of relying upon? Simple. Ask them for a teaching. If they say, pay up, run like hell. Just like the Pink Floyd song from the Wall album. Run like hell. If you ask someone for a teaching and they give you a teaching and you apply it once every 12 hours for 7 consecutive days, you'll be testing their teaching in the laboratory of your own body and mind. Now, here's a quick fun fact. If you can't do that, if you cannot apply a simple teaching once every 12 hours for 7 consecutive days, then your teacher selection is not your biggest problem. So let's say you've got the right stuff and you can apply a simple practice once every 12 hours for 7 consecutive days. Notice your results. If after 7 days you are more anxious and more aggressive than you were when you began, then either you didn't understand the teaching, or B, that teaching didn't benefit you, and that your best thing to do is go back to that teacher and say, hey, I did what you said, but I got more anxious and more aggressive. How do they respond? Are they kind? Do they try to work with you and troubleshoot with you and try to give you a tool that might work better for you? Or do they stonewall you? Do they just say it's you? Do they just attack you? Do they gaslight you? If they are kind, give them a second chance. If they're cruel, crumple them up and throw them in the dumpster. So you give them a second chance, they give you either a new technique or a new understanding of that same technique, and you play with it again once every 12 hours for 7 consecutive days. If you still get crap results, they're not necessarily a villain, but they're not really good for you either. Not everyone who you like, not everyone who's kind to you is going to be able to help you. But if you apply their teachings and you get good results, after 7 days you're more peaceful. You still are human, you still feel the full spectrum of human emotions, but overall you're more peaceful and more loving, then you're headed in the right direction. Now, if your teacher says you never need a doctor, and well, I hear something. I think there's something going on over here. Okay. If your teacher says you never need a doctor, you never need a psychiatrist, never need a psychologist, run like hell away from that guy or gal. Sometimes when we come to our teacher with a problem, they'll say, yes, I will help you, but you will need additional help. If you are presenting with a medical disorder, a good teacher is going to implore you to seek medical help. If you are presenting with a psychiatric disorder, a good teacher, in addition to meditation, will implore you to seek psychiatric help. If you can't afford them, there are resources online to help you find psychiatrists and psychologists who may be able to work with you. So you don't want to interface with someone who is so narcissistic that they will harm you. You want to work with someone who has a good sense of their own limitations. I hope that makes sense. Now let's explore the final bit right here. If you ever attend my 10 a.m. or my 2 p.m. live streams, you'll know I'm a big fan of the great Buddhist reformer Prahevajra, whom the Tibetans describe as Gaurab Dorje. In his Opus Magus, in his great Shastra, known as the Spaciousness of Vajrasattva, he explains that ultimately the purpose of the outer teacher is to help us find the inner teacher. Our inner teacher is our own autonomic nervous system. That is the seat, our sympathetic nervous system, which helps us practice mindfulness, and our parasympathetic nervous system that helps us practice meditation. It is the vulnerable, passive, visceral, random, and fleeting practice of watching and resting in harmony with our breathing. That is our ultimate teacher. So, could an external teacher be helpful? Yes. Are they all helpful? No. If you cannot find a great teacher to work with you in person or online, are you fucked? No. You can still master the path in as little as 7 days. You have taken your first step into a much larger world. If you feel that I have earned it, you could give this live stream a thumbs up. You could even help support this channel. For Meditate Like a Jedi is made possible thanks to the generosity of viewers just like you. For the remainder of this evening's live stream, let us sit and breathe and watch and rest. The most efficient way for us to watch the antics of mind is to silently and mentally recite the verb watch every time we feel our chest swell with air. The most efficient way for us to rest in the aspect of mind that feels non-graspable is for us to silently and mentally recite the verb rest every time we feel our chest subtly sink as gently we exhale. The moment you have a specific question about the philosophies or techniques of Taoism, Buddhism, Tantra, Dzogchen, Zen, or Mahamudra, do not hesitate to type your question in great detail in the chat window, for I tend to check for questions about once every 5 minutes or so. Welcome to this evening's live stream. The essence of meditation is to vulnerably, passively, viscerally, randomly, and fleetingly watch the antics of mind. The most efficient way of doing that is to silently and mentally recite the verb watch every time we feel our chest swell with breath. The essence of meditation is to rest in the aspect of mind that could fleetingly feel a little bit less permanent, stressful, defining, tangible. The easiest way, the most efficient way of doing that is to silently and mentally recite the verb rest every time we feel our chest subtly sink as gently we exhale. The moment you have a specific question about the philosophy or techniques of meditation, do not hesitate to type your question in great detail in the chat window, for I tend to check for questions about once every 5 minutes or so. In approximately 11 hours, I would very much like to return to lead tomorrow's morning lesson, followed by the group practice of meditating like a Jedi. And if you are as geeky as me, may the Force be with you always.